Hi, and welcome to the very first episode of Sounds Like Schmidt. I'm your host, Ben Schmidt. We've had a few different name choices for this podcast. There was Schmidt Talks, and there was Talking Schmidt. You're kind of starting to get the running theme here, really leaning into that last name. But ultimately, those two options had podcasts associated with them. They weren't very active, but we really needed something original. And one fateful night, I was driving home and I was calling GoDaddy looking for a website name. Sounds Like Schmidt for an e-course that I had. Now, ultimately, I've kind of realized that name might not be the best, but Rajesh from GoDaddy said, "Oh, Sounds Like Schmidt, good name." I said, no, Sounds Like Schmidt. "Oh, I thought you said Sounds Like Schmidt." I said, "Wait a minute, is that available?" He said, "It is." Perfect. So, welcome to Sounds Like Schmidt, the Hero's Journey podcast, where we interview creatives and entrepreneurs and athletes, and we dive into their tools and their tactics, their mindsets and their methodologies, and how they achieve high performance in their creative fields. They all circle around the topics of personal, business, and real estate development. See, I'm a realtor, and I own a housing operation, and I've built business systems and tools around such. And I also happen to be a self-help nerd. Yes, I read self-help books. And this is a podcast where you're going to be able to go to get all of the best of all three worlds, because they really tie well together. So if you're interested in real estate, entrepreneurship, money, self-improvement, business tactics, this is the place for you. We also like to try to tie the guest and their journey to the hero's journey. See, it's a concept of the character going from the call to action and then ultimately crossing into the threshold of the unknown, where they face tests and enemies and find out who their allies are, all in attempts to eventually go up against their greatest challenge and hopefully return to their ordinary world with the elixir, that new knowledge that yes, you can do it. So if you're an entrepreneur or a want-to-be entrepreneur, this podcast is absolutely for you. The very first guest is the perfect first guest. We have Phil Evans. Phil Evans is a brother from another mother. He is cut from the same cloth. He's my amigo from another man's burrito. He's into real estate as a salesperson of 4.5 years. 4.5 years is not a very long time, and at the time of filming this, Phil was 14th in Canada for his brokerage, Keller in individual units sold. So if you're interested in a career sales, this guy can absolutely give you all the advice that you need. As well as we dive into his past of a lot of traveling, where he developed his absolute responsibility mindset, where he realized that he is in complete control, good, bad, or ugly, of his life. It was not going to be up to anybody else but him. And ultimately, we go into his past and find out where he developed the owner's mindset. And it wasn't at a young age. So anyone out there that maybe has dreams of a business and are not yet there, this episode is absolutely for you. Finally, we get into Rise at 5. Rise at 5 is my personal development self-help show, where we are tackling the 5 a.m. club with Rob and Sharma. And Phil and I did a 90-day challenge, and we're going to go through the results of such. I hope you enjoy this episode. I know that you will. Follow along the hero's journey with Phil Evans on the very first episode of Sounds Like Schmidt. exactly what you told me. Don't restart. Sorry, Pete. Fix it in post. All right, see? Right?
Yeah.
It's all bueno. Anyway, let's start. Cheers again, buddy. Appreciate it very much. See, you didn't do the bang this time.
No, I told you last time it was unintentional.
That was unintentional. I think that's for somebody, but I'm not really sure who that's supposed to be, for your buddies that aren't here or something like that. Yeah. So, my podcast. We're still figuring out the name, so we're going to keep the podcast nameless as of right now. But I've been kind of giving you the backstory, and a lot of the people that are following me or watching me, or the vast numbers of them, they know about this 5 a.m. thing that I'm doing right now. And that's why you're here, because we've been doing this Rise at 5 challenge for, what are we, we're day 81, 82?
Somewhere in there, yeah.
We're almost done, but
August 16th. So 8 days left.
8 days left.
Yeah.
You counting down, you ready to finish or what?
Well, first of all, before we get into that,
yeah,
I just want to congratulate you on the launch of this podcast.
Well, thank you.
And it's episode 1. And what's really cool about this podcast is that I know that us sitting here and you filming episode 1 is a direct result of you waking up at 5 a.m. for the last 81 days.
Right.
So congratulations on that, and that huge, success or hurdle. That one big task that's kind of you've been wanting to tackle for a long time. That mountain you've been wanting to summit, and here you are now. So congratulations to you on launching this podcast, and thank you for having me. It's a bit of a humbling experience. I consider myself to be a relatively uninteresting individual.
We'll tell.
The fact that you wanted me to be your number one guest is an honor, and thank you, and congratulations.
Well, I appreciate it. I mean, we'll see how far we get with this, but I've got some lofty ambitions. But man, you're the perfect. It's funny, we don't know each other. We haven't known each other very long.
No.
Right? We're actually relatively new friends. And one thing that every once in a while, when you meet somebody new, like, at whatever age we're at this point, you don't really need the new friends.
Yeah.
There was something about this Phil Evans. You know what I mean? When you came in, I was just like, well, this guy's he's my bro already, right? We had to go through the awkward phase of becoming friends, but I was like, this guy's already my bro. Yeah. We were cut from the same cloth. So you're the perfect first guest.
Well, I would say that I'm the perfect first guest because my journey through the 5 a.m. has been so... it has been the complete opposite of perfect. I knew from day one that perfection was never the goal.
Right.
Because then I knew I would fail on day one.
Right.
So you call me the perfect guest for your first episode, but I'd actually say that it's because of my imperfection in doing the 5 a.m. that makes me maybe someone interesting and unique to talk to about my experience, because I've been doing it 81 days.
Yeah.
And I did it again. The first time I started was in January.
Yeah.
And it's been a struggle. It's not easy. It requires a lot of discipline, a lot of willpower, and it has been an amazing journey, but a very difficult, not difficult journey, but it's not easy. It really requires every single day intention and purpose. Mm-hmm. You just can't get up at 5 a.m. every day and expect
for no reason
that everything's going to just fall in your lap and work out. There's so much more than just getting out of bed at 5 a.m. But that is the first step, absolutely.
Right. For sure. And the 5 a.m., it is hard not for people to kind of really stick on those words, right? You say that and a lot of other things kind of get blurry because 5 a.m. is, that's an intimidating thought, so. But before we dive too much into the book, and too much into the 5 a.m. club, which this whole podcast is, or
the series of the podcast is not solely about 5 a.m. Club, right? That's what we want to talk about. But I just kind of want to, the guests already know a little bit about who you are, just so you know, when people click on the podcast and bring it up, there's a little fill, and I'm going to be telling them all the great things about you. So they are, for the first 2 minutes, they already kind of get to know you. But, so the people that have gotten into it and we're watching, who is Phil? What do you do for a living? Why is it that we're kind of chatting? Other than 5 a.m., like how are we kind of connecting? What is it that you do?
Well, let's start with your third question there, which is how we started chatting, because I think that will help shed a little bit about who I am. I picked this book up from a mutual friend who you gave this book to last September.
Right.
I read the first 20 pages, said it wasn't for me, put it down.
Yeah.
And the book kind of just sat there staring at me for a little while, and then I picked it back up 2 months later, and I read one or two more pages, and I was hooked. Right from there. And I started reading this book all through last fall, and our mutual friend Jordan, J-Lo, I was in, I want to talk to this Ben guy. I need to know a little bit more about this 5 a.m. club. And that's kind of where it started for me. And then I was finishing up the book in January, and you and I first chatted on a Saturday afternoon, and I had no intention of actually, so I'm reading the book, I'm almost finishing it. I had no intention of actually doing the 5 a.m. club yet. I was waiting and putting off like we do.
Yeah.
And after talking to you on that Saturday afternoon, I went and I started the 5 a.m. club that following Monday.
Right.
And it went like gangbuster right out of the get-go. My business, my relationships, my friendships, my health, everything, just immediately, just like I saw the benefits in the first week.
Right.
And they were quite profound. So that's kind of how I started on the 5 a.m. club. As for a little bit about me, I've got a beautiful fiance. I live in Halifax.
Sina. Fantastic.
She is fantastic. And I'm a real estate agent.
How long have you been doing that?
I just started my 5th year, so coming into my 5th year. And it's been a really interesting experience, and that's been its own journey as well. When I first got into real estate, I didn't know if it was the right thing for me. It was this thing that was on my to-do list, or something I was thinking of doing for 4 or 5 years prior to.
Right.
And then finally I just said, you know what? I want to spend the money and just do this just so I can cross it off my list and know that it's not for me.
Right.
And it turns out it was. And so that's been a really fun journey the last 4 years. Just getting, it's the first time in my life that I'm doing a job that I'm excited to get up out of bed every single day,
right,
and go and hammer it out. So that's really about it. But I would say, what defines me really, it would be friends and family. I'm a big family guy and a big friends guy, and I hold all those relationships close to my heart. And that's about it. I love to play a bit of hockey, love to travel. And apparently now I like waking up at 5 a.m.
So I'm in the East Coast. We're in the East Coast, Canada. I'm in New Brunswick, but you're in Halifax, right?
Yeah, we're 4 hours from here.
So you service the Halifax regional metropolitan, like the.
Yeah, so I sell all over Nova Scotia, primarily in Halifax.
Right.
I do a lot of pre-construction condominiums.
Okay.
And then a lot of resale condos and single-family homes and things like that as well.
Right.
So I mostly stick within a 1 hour radius of Halifax, but of course there's always that client that you're willing, you travel outside the city and whether it's the South Shore, Bridgewater Valley.
Yeah,
like
of course.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, because you said that real estate was a thing on your list that you wanted to check off.
Yeah.
Real estate is real estate sales. Being a realtor, I think that's a business.
Right.
You're an entrepreneur. To think about that, you probably have some sort of an entrepreneurial mindset. So can I ask you, what gravitated you towards real estate to begin with? Do you have a business background, or do you have real estate in family, or what kind of just brought you to real estate?
Yeah, certainly. So I have a master's in business, but that's not really the reason or how I got there. I guess the truer story is if we go right back to my teenage years, the first thing I ever remember wanting to do in my life was own a sports store. The second thing was, I wanted to own a campground, and the third thing was I wanted to own a kayak or a travel tourism company.
Right.
And so what did I do with my bachelor degree? I went to school and I got a Bachelor of Recreation and Leisure Studies. I'm that guy. And but it was a great experience, and I used that degree and I leveraged that degree to do all kinds of really cool, fun jobs all through my 20s. But when I look back on those teen years and my high school years, thinking of all the things I wanted to do when I was older, I realized in all three of those scenarios, I wanted to be the business owner. I didn't want to work in a sports store. I didn't want to work at a campground. I didn't want to work in the travel city. But I wanted to own the businesses within them. And I was 2009 working in Calgary. The recession hit. Our business that I was working for, the company I was working for, completely shut down. And I was middle of summer with nothing to do. And a good friend of mine was driving across the country on a Monday. And I flipped the coin. I said, if it's tails, I'm going to jump in the car with him and I'm going to head to Halifax. And that was a Thursday. I got in the car Monday, and the following Friday I landed in Halifax. And it was the best decision I ever made.
Wow.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then I started the M.B.A. program from there. And then that launched a sales career. And then the sales career just inevitably allowed me to eventually go into this entrepreneurial route, which was kind of always where my heart and soul kind of wanted. I always felt that's the direction I wanted to go. I didn't know it was real estate, but I knew I wanted to work for myself. Right. And I have to say it's a really, really awesome experience helping somebody buy a house.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And you're working with somebody and they're excited to buy a house, to buy an investment property, to buy their retirement home, to buy their dream family home. Right. I've never been able to get that or capture that experience anywhere else. Right. And once I had a couple of those sales, I was hooked.
Right, you were hooked.
Yeah.
Well, so for me, and I'm hoping a lot of the people that are watching it, entrepreneurial mindset, you say own the company, that makes obvious sense to me. Yeah. But, when you're first going from college, from high school, or you're navigating your first steps in the professional world, you didn't first kind of go that route. But you had this beacon of, I want to be an owner. Do you have any idea of like where that kind of came from? Like, why do you think you have the owner mindset, the business mindset? Like, do you have an idea where that might have came from, or that's just...
I think more than anything, I just realized from a young age, I don't know where it came from, to be honest. My parents are not entrepreneurs. I didn't get it from them. I don't know that I really got it from school anywhere. So I don't really know where that came from, to be honest. I've never actually thought about it. In my later years, I know exactly where it came from. I realized I don't enjoy working for other people. Right. I like autonomy.
Why is that? Your autonomy?
I like the autonomy. I like the creative. I like that I can work at my pace. That, I don't like bureaucracy. I don't like red tape. I'm a goal setter. I like setting a goal, and I like getting to that goal, and I like getting there, not necessarily the quickest way possible, but I don't necessarily always like when people were getting in my way or putting, red tape or things around the way that I was trying to get there. Now I had some really good employers, so I took a lot from them as well. Right. But I would say in my later life, I just realized that for my own self, I didn't want to work for anybody else. Right. Life's too short. I wanted to make my own decisions.
Right. Well, that's good. So, let's just, we kind of know who Phil is now. We kind of know a little bit how you got into real estate. Say 14. So what age were you when you got into real estate?
I just started my fifth year. Right. So
let's rewind. Let's rewind the clock. Let's say 14 to 24, those formative years. Yeah. Right? What are the challenges that Phil came across? What are the obstacles? What are the things that inspired you? how did you navigate going from, again, that 14 to 24, I said that, that's when you figure everything out, right? Or you're figuring things out. So what were the things that you kind of came up with or came up against that defined who you are? I mean, that's a big question, but...
I, not to be cliche, I'd have to say, my mom, first and foremost. She's just one of those wonderful, wonderful women who just feed it to you. No judgment from us. You be who you want to be. You do it. You live your life how you want to live it, and that was true from I've really started to notice that in, like age 15, 16, my last couple of years of high school, that, she wasn't going to restrict or put any boundaries on the person or man that I wanted to become. In terms of challenges or struggles, my fiance asked me, and we may get to this later, this year's, I've been searching for my big why. Ask myself, what is it that I got to get myself out of bed every morning for? And my fiance said, well, what was one of your struggles as a child or a teenager?
Right.
And go there.
Right.
And go help those people who are having the same challenges and struggles. I've lived a very privileged life.
Right.
I'm a straight, white, tall,
good looking
male.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Born in middle class Canadian family with a master's education.
Right.
I mean, I look back on my childhood and growing up. The biggest disappointment in my teenage years was on the high school hockey team. I expected to be the captain, and Mr. McKay, our math teacher, he gave that to Scott Cadet, and I still remember, right? And I was the assistant captain. I mean, that's my biggest struggle. So I can't be the one who sits here and tells you that I've had a life of struggle. I've come from privilege, and I recognize that.
But you say, you've grown up privileged, not a lot of challenges. Right? Yeah. But you're in a world, real estate sales, entrepreneurship. You have to you have to make that happen.
Yeah.
You have to have ambition. So where does, do you have ambition? Where does that come from for you?
Yeah. So, going back to the story, I just shared with you, growing up with very little struggle.
Right.
In my younger years, that led to entitlement.
Okay.
And when I finished university, I had the woman of my dreams.
Right.
I was a sea kayak guide. I was moving back to Newfoundland to start starting a cycling company. Mm-hmm. And I was going to be, the best sea kayaker that Newfoundland had ever seen. and that, I just felt that's what was happening.
Right.
Well, but 3 weeks into that, my girlfriend left me, and I got fired from my sea kayaking job, which was kind of directly attached to the cycling company that I had just started.
So in your early 20s?
21.
Yeah.
So now I'm just finished university, and I have all this ego. I'm cruising along, and then I thought the world literally, I just collapsed beneath me, and I was a victim. It was oh woo me, and I remember blaming everybody. I blamed my ex-girlfriend. I blamed my parents. I blamed my boss. I was blaming friends, siblings. It was everybody's fault but my own. Right. Thankfully, my sister helped me get a job in Ottawa, and I saved up just enough money to get a flight to New Zealand. And I got a work visa in New Zealand for a year. And I went down. By the time I got there, I think I had $1,200 to my name. And it was the best experience I ever had. And what happened in New Zealand, so many things happened in New Zealand in that year. But the number one thing that happened was I started picking apples. And
I didn't think that's
I swear to God, I started picking apples.
You could have came to Kentville, Nova Scotia, and picked apples.
I went to New Zealand for it, and I went to Motueka, New Zealand for it. And the best part about it was this is pre MP3 pre MP3 players, pre iPhones, pre anything with
rocking a
music on it
Walkman.
that wasn't a Discman.
Right.
And I remember trying to pick apples with my Discman, and it was always skipping, headphones falling out of my ears.
Right.
I ditched it after the first day.
Right.
I'm a tall guy.
Right.
I was an excellent apple picker. Like, no, I'm serious. I can pick a lot of apples.
You can pick an apple,
I can pick an apple. And what was crazy about it, though, is I would spend 10 hours a day in a field with nothing but my thoughts.
Right.
And I literally, over the course of 3 months of picking apples, because my work visa only allowed me to work in one spot for 3 months,
Right.
I felt like I sorted everything out.
Right.
Because I had no choice but to think about it all. So suddenly I thought through every scenario with my ex-girlfriend. And I quickly started realizing that, maybe it's not her fault. Maybe I was a little bit of a dick, a little bit of an asshole.
Right.
Maybe my parents' fault. My parents didn't do anything.
Right.
My ex-boss that fired me, you know what? Maybe I wasn't the best employee that I thought I was at the time. And I felt that in that apple orchard over those 3 months, I let everything go. I stopped blaming other people. And I quickly realized that, and traveling will do this to you. You don't have to go to pick apples in New Zealand to learn this experience, because I've met other people who've learned this same thing. But, we're born in Canada with a high school education, university education. We can literally do anything we want.
Right.
There's nothing in this world that we can't do.
Right.
We I'm not the only privileged person in this room right now. And I don't mean that in any disrespect.
Yeah.
I just mean that, like, what are we, born in the top 5% of the world's population simply by being born in Canada and have a high school education? And so I quickly realized from that experience that any outcome that I have in my life is a direct result of the efforts that I put into it.
Right.
So, and I remember almost self-teaching I wasn't reading books about this at the time. Like,
Right.
I just remember realizing it and just saying, it's not her fault. It's not his fault. My broken heart is not, you know what I mean? This is my life. I'm responsible for it. If I'm going to sit here and wait for Ben Schmidt to come along and give me an opportunity, then, I can't blame Ben Schmidt for not coming along and giving me an opportunity. Blame myself for sitting here waiting for him to do it.
Right.
And I just not quickly realized, it took some time, but at a very young age, I realized that I can do anything I want to do if I set my mind, heart, soul to it.
Right.
And I'm the only one who's responsible for my life. So I think that's where the ambition comes from today, is that I know that I'm the only one responsible for today in my life. You know what I mean, right? So
where your ambition came from is, what it sounds like is, you're in complete control. Good, bad, indifferent. Opportunities come, and lots of people get lucky, right? Lots of things, people get opportunities, but seizing an opportunity or creating an opportunity or reframing a negative to a positive or making a positive not take, you're in control. I really like that, man. I think that's a great answer.
Yeah, no, thank you. And just to add one other thing, it's just really, we all there's good breaks out there.
Right.
There's people who help you along the way. Absolutely. But you have to put yourself in those situations to get those breaks and to get those help.
Right.
And to know when you need that help.
Yeah, 100%. You have to put yourself there.
It really just comes down to just being in the driver's seat of
Right.
my destiny, what I do in my life is up to me.
Right.
And I learned that at a young age.
So you actually brought up a couple points in the apple picking story, which I didn't really expect that to be your ambition, but that's fantastic, being a Valley boy myself, right? Johnny Appleseed. But you talked about, you got rid of the Walkman, the Discman, whatever you had.
Yeah.
No distractions. You were in a point of the book talks about, you were in a reflection mode, right?
Yeah.
You also, for a few brief moments, you were talking about how you were playing victim in your life.
Yeah.
all three of those, distractions, reflection, and victimhood. Those are big concepts in, kind of the reason that we're kind of here is the 5 a.m. club. So we're going to dive into the 5 a.m. club in the book. Robin Sharma, personal development. How did you come across Robin? Do you know much about him? Personal development world, is that something that you're interested in? How did you come across this book?
Personal development, you don't go back to school and do a master's degree in your 30s if you are happy in your role or kind of the path that you're moving forward. I'm a big believer in education and personal growth, and it's subjective to each individual and to what you're seeking or trying to find. How I came across Robin Sharma was you lent the book to a mutual friend of ours, and I said, "What's this book?" And like I said earlier, I read 20 pages, I put it down, and it kind of just kept speaking to me, and then I picked it back up, I read a couple more, and then I couldn't put it down again. And then, so that's kind of how, I found Robin Sharma as an indirect link through yourself.
Okay. Well, see, I mean, this book, I'll try to give a little context because for the few people that have maybe been paying attention, I've been on this book for about 18 months now.
Hardcore.
Won't give it up.
Yeah.
It's kind of really completely changed my viewpoint on life. It was kind of I had reached a point, maybe it had been burning for a good 5, 6, 7, 8 years before it actually crescendoed, but I was on a path of I'm going to say I was on a path of average, and not that nothing wrong, but this book, when it came across, I really needed something. I was looking for the next level. I was looking for elite production. I was looking to chase down these lofty ambitions, these goals that have been buried or I've been thinking about, I've been having, but never ever actually accomplishing it. And I won't go into the backstory of why it was so profound and when it came to, but when it landed in my lap, thanks Mom. You said something to everybody else. So thanks Mom. Christmas, this really grabbed me. So I want to dive into the 5 a.m. club. There's some overrunning themes about it that, again, everyone really gravitates to the 5 a.m. thing. But there's a few things, and you touched base on a couple of them. And I really feel that this is a manual for personal mastery. So does the word personal or the words personal mastery mean anything to you? Like, what does that mean to you?
First of all, and you've heard me refer to this before, the 5 a.m. club, getting up at 5 a.m., I've learned and truly believe is a superpower. Right. And I mean that, it might sound extreme, but what I mean by that is, you and I called you 10 weeks ago, desperate, right? Ben, COVID, my business is going down. I can't get out of bed. I'm tired. I'm groggy. Right. I'm not exercising. I'm not doing any of the things that are true to my heart that I want to be doing. Right. And you were like, man, get up at 5 a.m. Let's do a 90-day 5 a.m. challenge. And I was like, okay. And we started doing this. The first week doing this, immediately my phone started ringing. Emails started coming in. I was getting referrals from past clients. People were coming out of the woodworks looking for business. And I'm a big believer in, what you put out to the universe responds and comes back to you tenfold. Right. And that this 5 a.m. club was that. And yeah, my business just started taking off again, and I totally messed up that question.
No, I don't think you did at all. And because to be honest, like the 5 a.m. and my question specifically was more about like. It wasn't even so much a question as much as I led into how I came across the book and how we came, how you kind of came across the book. But personal mastery, as I think, is the overrunning theme, and everybody kind of sticks on the 5 a.m. club. Like I can't get my friends off the fact that it's 5. No, there's other concepts and themes.
So many more.
So many more. So like, I mean, you touched base on a few of them, and one of the things when you were in apple picking mode, no Walkman, no Discman, you're in that reflection, and he talks about distractions, right?
Addiction to
distraction. The actual quote is, addiction to distraction is the death of your creative production.
Absolutely.
So you agree?
100%.
So, I feel as human beings, everybody's born with this, there's some sort of desire, this heart's desire, right? Some people have a clear vision, some people have a feeling, right? But I think we have these lofty ambitions and lofty goals. And for whatever reason, and Robin Sharma talks about distractions as being one of them. Briefly, how do you see distractions playing out on people accomplishing or not accomplishing their goals?
Okay, so here's what's great about this book, and great about just the 5 a.m. club in general. First of all, it gives you your victory hour.
Yeah.
So you wake up every morning, and for me, I tell myself every single morning when I put 2 feet on the ground at 5 a.m., I'm committing to a new lifestyle.
Right.
So right there, I'm setting my intentions for today. And then we get into the 20-20-20, which I'm sure you're going to discuss at length. After that, at 6 a.m., 6:15, I've now accomplished more in that hour than I would normally accomplish before 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. And my day is now set up.
Yeah.
So this morning, what did I do after you and I went for a run at 5 a.m.?
Right.
I came back and I journaled and I set my intentions for today.
Right.
My intentions for today were to be present and ready for this podcast, but also too, I wanted to go out and I wanted to beat my buddy John Hickey at golf this morning, which I did.
Did you?
And those were my intentions for today.
Yeah.
And what it does is it just builds your foundation so you can go out and, if you win your mornings, inevitably you will almost always win your days. You win your days, you win your weeks, you win your your months, quarters, years,
right.
And then you get into legendary status.
Right.
I mean, there's a very, very, if you don't mind me just going to my journal right now, one of my favorite quotes in the book: small daily, seemingly insignificant improvements when done consistently over time yield staggering results. So it's just being present every single day. So for me, the 5 a.m. club just gets me present. It gets me in the right mindset. It makes me intentional. I plan out my day and I visualize how I want my day to unfold.
I love that.
And it happens through the 5 a.m. club. Waking up at 7:30 with no direction, I'm looking at my fantasy hockey for the first hour.
Ready for distractions.
I'm looking for
susceptible to distractions.
That's all I want is a distraction. But then you customize it to fit your own need. So, one of the things my brother mentioned to me, he has this phrase he calls "eat the frog." Every morning, eat one frog. And what that essentially means is like, what is that one thing you don't want to do, but you have to do? What is that one thing on your list every single day that's been on your list for weeks, months, however long? Do that one thing. And most times, that one thing that you've been putting off is actually really, really easy and takes you 5, 10, 15 minutes. And you're like, why didn't I do that 2 months ago?
Right.
And so I'm just using that as an example because, the 5 a.m. club is an idea. It's a concept. It's a foundation. But you can customize it to however life or day that you're trying to set up and you're trying to live.
Right.
So for myself, I love that victory hour, the 20-20-20. Then somebody may go and exercise more, they may go study more, they may do anything. What I love to do after that first hour is I go for my easy wins. I'm a big bullet journal guy. So what I do is I get into the bullet journal and I go, where are my easy wins today? Oh, I've got to send this email. I've got to reply to this person. I've got to submit this paperwork. And I get all that done. And now I'm 6:45 in the morning. I've got 6 things crossed off my list already.
Building momentum.
And now I'm eating a frog. So now it's 8 o'clock. And not only have I accomplished 6, 7, 8 things already, but one of them was something that's really, really been bothering me, or that I just had to get done. And then it's 8 o'clock. And you have all this stuff done. So you're not chasing the day anymore. You've set your day. You're ahead of it. Nobody else can catch you.
So, I mean, we've been saying 5 a.m. club a lot, and we've been talking about 5 a.m., but we actually haven't said or talked about the actual module, the 20, you just alluded to it, right? Because there is the 5 a.m. component, which I don't think we need to go in anymore. You know, it allows you, it gives you opportunity for more time, for the opportunity to get ahead of the competition, if we want to say. But the actual first hour of the day, and you talked about that as well, and where you talked about the days and the weeks and then the months, you only have your one day. And when you said, if you control your morning, if you win your morning, you probably win your day.
Own your morning, elevate your life.
I think it's a subtitle.
Right.
So were you reading that? So the 20 first pocket, move, exercise, increase dopamine, the serotonin levels, your cortisol levels, your fear hormone, that's when it's highest in the morning, so you're crushing that down, right? We don't have to go into the benefits of exercise, right? But that's the first thing you do. The moment you wake up and you have that groggy head, you eat the frog, you get moving, and you wake up. It's kind of, let's kind of move on. It's kind of something that people can wrap their heads on. But the second pocket is interesting, and that's the reflection. So as soon as you've done your 20-minute run, you got up, you woke up, you exercised, got it. Reflection, right? So he talks about meditation. I've done a lot of that because of this book, as well as journaling. I think you've gravitated more towards journaling as well. Absolutely. As I did. So tell me, you mentioned bullet journaling. So what do you do during your 20 minutes during the 20?
Yeah. So, okay, the first 20 minutes is just move.
Yeah.
Some days you're moving heavy, some days you're not moving very well at all. Sometimes it's a walk, sometimes it's burpees, sometimes it's a run, sometimes it's a bike ride.
Yeah.
Regardless of what it is, at the end of the 20 minutes, you're more focused, and naturally you're going to be more productive.
Right.
So then you move directly into your reflection. Right. And for me, I go to journaling. Mm-hmm. And I do meditate as well, but for me, it's primarily journaling. And that's where I give my gratitude.
Yeah.
And that's where I start to visualize and then set my intentions for today. How do I want today to look?
Right.
What are my goals for today? What's the outcome? And I close my eyes and I visualize, right? What is my client going to win that competing offer, right? And just start to just plan your day. That's really what it is. So sometimes it's just going over yesterday's to-do list.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's setting today's to-do list. Sometimes it's just writing and giving gratitude. Sometimes it's just a journal. Maybe I got something really bothering me. It kept me up last night. I just need to get it out.
Yeah.
It's not something I need to talk to somebody about or vent to somebody about. I just need to get it out on paper. And then it's gone and it's there. So, that's the reflection hour. And I really do believe that it leads to stronger performance and higher creativity. It makes you more aware.
Those are a couple good points. So the reflection, when I started journaling, I was a note taker as a kid. I always planned, no problem bringing out a journal and writing some stuff down. Oh, I want to accomplish X, let's break that down. But journaling emotions, and processing like what's going on, and actually developing an awareness of who I am and what it is that's actually important to me, right? See, for me, reflection has been an opportunity to not only, or that pocket, that journaling pocket where I've been able to implement it during the reflection, setting intentions, gratitude, affirmations, visualization, all of those things, and bringing it into a journal. The biggest thing that I found that I got from it was the ability to, you process the emotion, but you gain the clarity, right? And whatever it is that we're trying to accomplish, why we're getting up early, you're trying to increase production, provide more value to your clients. Gaining clarity on what's important is something that, you want to know, is taking that time and writing it down one of the big things that I found when I process those emotions, I don't bring them to the workplace.
Right.
I don't bring them to the, my clients don't get the argument with the girlfriend the night before because I kind of, so I really found that reflection was probably one of the biggest pockets. But I'll go to the third pocket, grow. So the one who learns the most earns the most. That was something that really gravitated towards me, right? Yeah. And if you know better, you can do better, right? So a lot of people, they move on, and self-education, they move on from high school and they're not actually continuing to learn. When he first talked about taking work and looking at as craft, that really opened my eyes. So the third pocket for you in growth, how do you tackle growing, learning? What do you do?
So that's actually becoming one of my favorite pockets. I would say at first it was my least favorite, but now it's where I get to be the most creative, right? That's where I get to actually learn something that I'm interested in learning. Maybe it's a new technology to do with my business. I'm just going to go in and play around with the new software. Maybe it's this book that I've got 100 pages left on, and I you know what I mean? I want to get through it because it's important. It can be anything, and you can really be creative in that last pocket and just do something and study something that's important to you or your craft. What is it you're trying to master or become legendary at, and go there, and learn more. And it can be anything. There's no limit in that pocket.
So we've kind of quickly checked 20. Get up, move. Second pocket, reflect. Third pocket, growth. You've got your hour. We're now moving on. You can conquer the day. So that's the 5 a.m. 20. But we've done this little Rise at 5 challenge. Right? So we actually challenged each other for 90 days.
You're kicking my ass?
Well, we're not sure. We haven't, Le Champion de cinq heures, man. Come on. But before, where that got birthed out of, it's hard not to talk about the situation that the whole world is in, this COVID situation. And you already alluded to, when we spoke, that you were kind of down. What I never really kind of told you is, when you called me, oh my God, did I need that phone call.
Right.
COVID kind of, I was on a 15-month rocket ship high. And COVID brought me down.
Right.
And I started going, no problem. Right. And I ended up on the couch right there for about 5 weeks, drinking, TV, Netflix, That phone call, I said, screw it. It's the fight. He needs this. Let's do this. I had no idea what that phone call was going to do for me. So I want to thank you that the Rise at 5 and everything birthed out of that. So for me, again, COVID, it hit me really hard. And I decided when I came out of COVID, or when I was in COVID, I need to come out of this with growth. I need to come out of this with something new. What am I going to get from this?
So you
what am I
found
going to
purpose.
learn? Found purpose. And Rise at 5 is something that kind of came out from that. And, where were you when you made that phone call? Why were you making that phone call? Why did you think the 5 a.m. was going to help? And quickly, just if you could, what happened when we started?
So like many people, or I was in this point during COVID where a lot of bad habits were creeping in, and both my health, my business, things like that were really starting to falter, or they just weren't getting the attention that they deserved. So I was looking for something. I was grasping for something, and I called you and I said, Ben, I need I need some help. I need your 5 a.m. superpower. I'm so unmotivated right now. I need something. And you said, let's do it. Start on Monday, right? 90-day challenge. And, for me, the goal was never perfection, because if the goal is perfection, you're going to fail right out of the gate. And one of the things that Robin talks about in his book, he always says that all change is hard at first, messy in the middle, and gorgeous at the end. So I went into this, and you know what? The first 30 days were hard, but they were actually pretty easy because I had a ton of momentum behind me. Then I got confident. Oh, I can sleep in today, not worry about that. Oh, I did 5 days this week, not worry about that. And I got comfortable. So the middle got really messy. And then I was looking for this big, gorgeous finish, right? I think I told you that I signed up for a rowing course.
Right.
Getting up at 5 a.m., taking this 5:45 a.m. rowing course. All these things. And I thought this was going to propel me through this finish line. So, my 90 days was going to be kind of like this, right? Boom. It's actually been more like this. Like it hasn't been easy. It's been messy. And I've realized now that I'm still at the beginning of my 5 a.m. journal. I'm not yet in the middle. I'm nowhere near the end. So I'm still at that all change is hard at first. Because I may have been doing this now for 90 days, but this is something that I plan to do for a lifetime. So I'm not in the middle. I'm not in the end yet. And it's still hard because it says 66 days is to form a habit. Well, you can lose a habit like that. Just like that. To it. Right? So there's just more to than just getting up at 5 a.m. every morning. It is committing to a new lifestyle. And you have to have the willpower and the desire to want to truly commit to that. Otherwise, what's the point? You're waking up at 5 a.m. for what? Right.
So I feel like I need to thank you because when you made that phone call and I was, pretending that, Ben, I need some inspiration. I was like, oh, I need to do. So this 90-day challenge that we put ourselves on, and it was all about, waking up 2020, it's birthed into this thing called Rise at 5. And I've always kind of had this vision of myself going into the personal development space. I had ideas and concepts of what that might feel like and, end results, but I didn't know the process. And in this when you posted that, and I'm starting out making videos and doing and it's grown into this. And now I know I have this storyable platform where I talk about personal development and business development and real estate development. Those two are common. So I have so much gratitude towards you for making that phone call because I'm now feeling like I'm actually doing something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. And I didn't know how I was going to get there, and it came from a phone call from you.
Well, it's I feel the same, and that's what's just wonderful about all of this is you put something out into the universe and it does come back tenfold. So I was looking for something and you were looking for something. It just happened to be me calling you before you called me, and we're not there yet. We're not even close to where we want to go. What's great about this journey is we're recognizing that we have the ability to continue down this path and to create a life worth living, create the life we want to live. And there's so much involved in that, but it really can all start with just the biggest thing for me at Rise at 5 a.m. is I am more present every single day. I show up.
You gotta have a reason to be getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
I'm not getting up at 5 a.m. in the morning to look at my computer to watch hockey or sports highlights. Yeah. If I'm getting up at 5 a.m., I'm getting up with purpose. I'm getting up with intention. Right. Absolutely. My feet aren't hitting the ground at 5 a.m. and I'm not going to win something out of that.
Right. Okay. Well, Phil, I want to just kind of wrap things up. I mean, for people that are coming across this content, how do people reach out to you? What's the best way to contact you? Like there's, somebody's got to be buying real estate in Fredericton or in Halifax. How do they reach you?
Yeah, realestateinhalifax.ca, or you can find me on Instagram at PhilEvansHFX. And
I said real estate in Halifax, and that's literally your domain name?
Realestateinhalifax.ca.
Well, that's just too perfect at that point. Yeah. All right. Well, Phil, salut.
Thank you, Ben.
Mon ami. I appreciate
Cheers, buddy.
it.
And congrats on your podcast.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
Cheers, buddy.
Thank you very much for listening to the very first episode of Sounds Like Schmidt. It means one whole heck of a lot that you're still here with me on this journey. And again, speaking of journeys, This hero's journey that I have found myself on is something that I feel that you're going to be able to pull a lot of value from. And I believe that you're going to find your hero's journey within. We're going to tie this podcast and our guests into their hero's journey. See, as an entrepreneur or as a creative, when you try to go after that big project, when you try to move into the world of entrepreneurship, you ultimately go up and go against your hero's journey, that call to action, that crossing over into the threshold of the unknown, dealing with the tests and the enemies that come up against you until ultimately you go against your greatest hurdle. And then you find out whether or not you have it within you to come home to your ordinary world with your reward, the reward of knowledge that yes, you can do it. See, the worlds of personal, business, and real estate development are very near and dear to my heart, and I know that they intersect well. So if you're looking for inspiration on how you can go after the call to destiny that you know is deep in your heart, this podcast can help you get there. On the upcoming next 5 guests, we have doctors, we have high-performing athletes, we have e-commerce superstars, and we have Business Person of the Year award winners. In between, we're also going to try to stick handle the stories of how this podcast has come about. We try to tell you the ecosystem of Ben Schmidt TV, which includes Rise at 5, the idea of where the early rising habit came from and how it completely revolutionized my life, as well as how it developed into the world's first ever self-help show, where we tackle the world's thought leaders' tools and tactics on for size. I don't want to get too far into it because that is our next episode's topic. So stay tuned. Thank you very much for listening and or watching, and we'll be talking to you real soon.